No Harry Potter movie is
And
good.
you're like, give me the Snyder Cut. Oh, sorry, just walk in front of you here. Gonna put my popcorn down. Oh, sorry, gotta put this here.
Universal needs to sue Sony.
Hey, I'm an idiot. I was fired from Fox. Let me go.
I'd like actually to see Venom just crush Spider-Man.
So, hello everyone. So, I'm back today, and I know the intro can sometimes be a little bit long, but I'm here to talk about Dune, and this logo is off center, so I don't like that. But yes, I'm here to talk about Dune today, and I'm here to talk about kind of, I guess, I'm kind of giving my non-spoiler thoughts. Obviously, there'll be no spoilers in this, but it will probably be a little bit longer because unlike me just saying, oh my god, it was so great, I'm going to actually talk a little bit more in detail about why it was great. You know, like a normal review, which is different than normal because I actually wrote notes this time, which you can't see because there's no camera. If there was a camera, then you'd probably see them. But yeah, so just, sit back, get ready for like a nice little spoiler-free review of Dune, and then spoiler one where I'll talk more details will be coming soon, shortly after the one that I'm currently recording. So yeah, and I wanted to, so yeah, I don't know why I'm still talking about this. Let's just start. So I think the first thing we got to talk about is the disclaimer, and I'm going to leave this up here for the disclaimer. So the disclaimer is that I do have no idea of the source material. I don't know any details of the source material. So if you are a fan of the source material, whatever, and I'm not going to talk about, I really don't know what happens next. And also in the comments, just don't put any spoilers. You can comment about the movie, just don't put any spoilers. But yeah, I think that's kind of the main things I wanted to talk about before I started. So let's start about the first. So this movie, again, was a technical masterpiece, right? The cinematography and score were by far the standouts of this movie, and I can't express that enough. I think the cinematography was obviously fantastic, and for a Villeneuve movie, it's not surprising, right? You look at a movie, for example, like Blade Runner, right, where you have amazing cinematography. Typically, obviously, a Villeneuve works with, the greatest cinematographer in the history of cinematography, of course, being Roger Deakins. But this time he didn't, which obviously is curious, I guess, to an extent, because it's the first time he hasn't done that. But of course, he did work with another legendary cinematographer, who of course is named the great Greg Fraser. So, and of course, Greg Fraser is someone who I've got a picture of, by the way, somewhere here. Here I go. There we go. And he's obviously done things like Rogue One. So, when obviously you're going to get some amazing cinematography because you look at something like a Rogue One, even some of the episodes, I think he did the first episode of The Mandalorian. But you're going to get some great cinematography. And I think the other thing about this, and I think you do obviously get that great cinematography, right? You do get that, oops, that's the wrong one. These are the right ones. So you do get some of those scenes, and every scene in this movie, I think was really just something you could just take a picture of and put on a magazine. Like they're all very clean shots. I would go through and they'd go from one scene to another, and I'd be like, all of these could be used as magazine covers or DVD covers, right? Like they're all just very, very well shot as art. And again, when it goes back to like something like a Blade Runner, you understand why Villeneuve likes to kind of spend the time with the scenery and doesn't like to focus as much on the story, right? Because of course, what was Blade Runner, the second Blade Runner, notorious for? It was for the fact that it was a very slow movie, which was, which was focused on kind of the aesthetics and was focused on kind of, the scene and the cinematography and that kind of futuristic feel, which I think Dune also encapsulated very well. And even the scene transitions and the fights were all just like very smooth and very well kind of put together to an extent. And yeah, and that was the first big thing, right? And the second big thing was the score. And of course, when it comes to the score, who's one of the greatest to do the stuff with the score is Hans Zimmer. And I think Hans Zimmer once again kind of, took us on this journey with the score. He had the big grand things. There's not really any other pictures. I'm going to leave that one up there. But he kind of really gave us that grand kind of feeling of a space adventure, right? As this sci-fi adventure, this big thing, right? I said big a lot of times, I know. But I think that he kind of, and I think this, although it was very memorable and really well done, I think it also kind of did have times where it did feel excessive almost, right? It's like, do you really need to continue this? Like, we get it. Okay, let's move on. but I think that's kind of part of the charm to an extent as well. And so I think that's kind of, something which should be, but I think it's something definitely which is at least a criticism I had of it. Now, when it comes to the design of like the planets and stuff, I thought it was very well done. Although there were certain times where certain planets and certain, I guess, moments, especially Arrakis, when they were on like, in kind of in that main desert area, sometimes it would feel a little bit weird, samey. But then again, you have to understand, obviously, it's a desert. And even then, there were still times where it's like, I can tell the difference between this part of the desert and this part of the desert, right? Between the sand dunes and stuff in the desert. I think it was really well done. And I think that this really helped the movie because the acting was not, you didn't get any revelatory performances or revolutionary performances. You just so I think that kind of scene aspects and the set design and the characters and the the character design and the costume, I guess characters' costumes design, I don't know what I was trying to say there. And, all of the creatures on the planet and nature and all that stuff, I think that was all very much what made it worthwhile, right? And I think also, you're not going to really get the greatest story because obviously it's a story which has been done before. Actually, to a lot of an extent, it did feel a lot like the movie with the people and the road. God, I just had it in my head and then it went away. Mad Max Fury Road. That's the one. And it felt a lot like that to an extent. I don't know why that was so hard to say. But yeah. Now, the biggest downfall of this movie was beyond the actual technical parts, obviously, besides that little score issue I had. But it was the main structure of the story structure and kind of the acting, right? It felt like the story structure was very set up for a second part. And it kind of fell into that trap that you sometimes see with movies that are really just gearing for the second part, which is, the first part kind of can fall flat, and the second part can fall even flatter because they aren't standalone, right? You look at something like an Infinity War Endgame situation, where although it was a second part, both of them were self-contained stories. This one kind of was like it just kind of let off, and then it was because they were kind of setting it up for a second part. So I think that could end up hurting the second part, and I think maybe arguably hurt a little bit of the first part because you don't get an actual conclusion. But I think it is interesting to kind of see what happens there. But I wish it was kind of a little bit more of a self-contained first story rather than kind of, I guess, this lead off without an actual conclusion to an extent. And I think that that kind of hurt it a little bit. And the other part was the characters and the acting, because the characters and the acting, we didn't get any memorable performances, as I said. And for the most part, everyone kind of played the role that they normally do, and it wasn't really that special. And the fight scenes, obviously, again, the hand-to-hand combat and stuff was very clean, and it was very, very well done. And obviously not going to get into any spoilers right now, which will be, another video later. But I think this movie overall was really good. And if you like that kind of sci-fi, I guess Star Wars, Blade Runner, kind of futuristic kind of sci-fi stuff, you're going to enjoy this movie. But if you want something kind of like Marvel-esque, I guess, or fast-paced or, funny, you're not going to get that, because although, people like Jason Momoa had their moments where they were funny, Dave Bautista had his moments where he was funny, for the most part, they were just kind of doing themselves. And so I think that's kind of, it's a very interesting movie where it's like the technical aspects of it are great. If you're a fan of Dune, I'm sure, this will satisfy you story-wise. But I think that the other aspect of it, obviously, is that this is not something which is, this fast-paced action movie, which you have to keep in mind, obviously. But I do highly recommend it. I think it was one of the best movies of the year. And I'd probably give it, for a rating thing, 4 out of 5, probably, stars, or whatever things, yeah. But that's pretty much all when it comes to the Dune movie. It's surprisingly only 9 minutes. Look at that. But if you liked the review, let me know down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. I think it's like 30% of people are subscribed. It's kind of crazy. And, come back, because why would you not want to come back? We're going to get more great content. And there's going to be over the next few days, going to be like a ton of videos. It's crazy. There's like a podcast episode I need to put up and all that other stuff. But yeah, let me know what you thought of the movie down below. Obviously, if you've seen it in non-spoiler context, if you want to talk about spoilers, wait till my spoiler review. And subscribe so you know when my spoiler review comes out. But yeah, let me Thank you all for watching. I've already done the first part. Follow us on social media. It's all at the bottom of the screen in those nice little boxes. And see you all next time. Bye.